Unresolved Mysteries. My name is Terry. Thank you for joining me today. I'm coming today midday, trying to change up the time a little bit, but appreciate you joining. And yeah, we're gonna start getting into some of these cases that I found. Yeah. I need to start disclaimers just in case people that can't handle it. Some of the stuff will get you triggered. If it's something you can't handle, please change the channel. But otherwise, let's go ahead and get into it. First one I found it on Reddit. It was the body of a 71-year-old man was found beaten, bound, and sexually assaulted in his own home with thousands of dollars left inside. His own cat had also been killed. The victim was well off, boasted about his wealth, and had a prior conviction for a sex crime. And yet, not one suspect emerged. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. This is interesting. Born sometime in 1924 in Larvik, Norway, little else seems known about Ronald Ram's background. What little we do seem to know about his background doesn't paint him as a particularly good man. In 1960, when he was 36, he was arrested for a sex crime against a 15-year-old girl. Oh my goodness. Sources can't agree on the nature of it. The courts, however, treated him rather leniently, and he was only handed a 1-year suspended sentence. In fact, one source said he was a sex-obsessed in general. All right. I have an idea where this is about to go. Not well at all. In 1972, he built his home entirely with his own hands. The home in question was located in Rodberg, a rural area between Larvik and Stavern. Despite his advanced age, especially as the 20th century passed by, many who knew him said that he was stronger than most men in their 20s. Sources also described him as both as a pensioner and a widower. So at some point, he had a job and a wife whom he fathered 3 children, but little information seems available on them. I honestly wonder why. As Ronald grew older, he began to maintain what was called a meticulous order, and there were very few he trusted. He soon set up a safe in his basement, which he used to store valuables, jewelry, savings, money, and even gold bars. His total wealth amounted to several 100,000 kroner, and how exactly he came into this much amount of money is not exactly clear, especially with his conviction surely making employment difficult. Most of his money was used to travel to secondhand shops in Larvik to purchase and collect even more valuables for him to store in that safe. If someone approached him and told him that they had something for sale, he was said to purchase the item immediately and add it to his ever-growing collection. Yeah, I'm a little confused on how he's getting his money too. Especially, and the thing is, nobody knows who he is. One thing that Ronald couldn't be called was subtle. He took immense pride in his wealth, so much so that he'd often stand in the town square of Larvik to openly boast to any passerby in the area about how rich he was, his recent purchases, and all that he had in his safe. I wonder, maybe he got it from his family, but the problem is it doesn't seem like anybody knows too much about his family. Most of Larvik's population knew about his material wealth because he wanted people to know that he was a wealthy individual. Likely out of pride alone, his own daughter would admit that he was often rude towards others. On the evening of November 30th, 1995, Ronald was seen leaving a cafe and driving toward his home. Ronald was never seen again, and it didn't take long for his neighbors to notice. One of them had a brother who visited her every day, and he usually arrived when Ronald typically checked his mail. The two also kept an eye on the neighborhood and hadn't seen or heard from him. Her brother eventually went up to Ronald's property and opened his mailbox to find it full of mail. On December 8th, concerned neighbors finally contacted Ronald's daughter to let her know that nobody had heard from him. Concerned, she went to Larvik herself and then to her father's home. She didn't need to look long for him. Almost as soon as she opened the door, she was greeted by the sight of Ronald's corpse in the downstairs hallway. Okay. She immediately ran out from the house to call the police. Yeah, I would have done. There's no way I would have done the same thing. The police then called the forensic pathologist to the scene, who began examining Ronald's body. While the police searched the home, Ronald's hands were bound by a cord. Underneath his hands were a pair of bloody rose scissors. Okay. The cause of death was blunt force trauma, as he had sustained 18 heavy blows to the head. The murder weapon was a large pair of garden shears found at the scene. Lastly, his top pants button was open under his belt. Based on the level of rigor mortis, Ronald had likely been deceased for approximately 1 week. I'm starting to think it's about the money. I'm going to let the story play out, but if I had to take a guess, it's about his money, especially if you're going to be boasting to everybody about how much money you have. But let's keep going. On the police's end, they found clear signs of a struggle. Ronald had fought fiercely against his attacker or attackers, with signs of a fight in several different rooms of the house. Bloodstains were also found littered across the floor. His entire home had been ransacked, and every single drawer in the cabinet in the entire home had been opened and emptied onto the floor. The assailants even cut open a mattress and ripped all the photos from the wall. In the living room, the police found a wallet with 7,000 kroner and a partially destroyed jewelry box with its contents still inside. It appeared as if the only thing that the killer stole was Ronald's house key. As for how the killer entered, there was no signs of forced entry, and none of the windows or doors were broken, and his burglar alarm, one he had recently installed, hadn't gone off. This meant that Ronald likely knew his killer and let him inside. Perhaps he was even waiting for him. On Ronald's bed, the police found a locked and loaded shotgun along some additional shells. The shotgun in question had been purchased shortly before the murder. The last area to search was the basement. Officers descended the basement staircase at the bottom. They found the carcass of Ronald's cat. What? Okay. The cat had been stabbed with a large knife and tossed down the stairs. The cat was described as disemboweled. Advancing further into the basement, they came across a special room which contained his safe. The safe was unopened, and inside were 2 wallets containing 140,000 kroner total. Throughout the house, the police discovered many foreign footprints and fingerprints. All of this strongly indicated that there had been more than one killer. Okay? The motive seemed obvious. The entire house was ransacked, and Ronald often boasted publicly about how much money and valuables he owned. Yeah, of course, that's why you don't do that. The police even speculated that Ronald might have been tortured into giving up the key to his safe. That all changed once Ronald's body was taken for an autopsy. The post-mortem uncovering something that nobody had expected. Ronald had been R-worded, wow, okay, violently, and basically it says, and with semen found on his body. Okay, this took a different turn than I was expecting. All right. The police also found skin under his fingernails, likely from the struggle. Needless to say, why somebody would have done that to him only if the motive was merely robbery. Other aspects of the crime scene itself also made a financial motive seem a bit less likely too. As mentioned, the police initially believed he may have been tortured, but no other injuries aside from the severe head trauma seemed to be noted. The blows to the head were needlessly violent for robbery gone bad, and the gruesome murder of his cat was very unnecessary. Unlike, say, a dog, it would have posed no threat to him. I'm pretty sure, okay. Yeah, if I had to take a guess, I'm not thinking, it doesn't seem like they care what they killed at this case, in this case. So I'm pretty sure anything they saw, it seems like they were attacking. The sheer brutality and blatant sexual aspect pointed to something much more, especially since seemingly he knew his killer. I forgot about that part. He did know his killer. I wonder, but and I'll go back into the story in a second, but I wonder if, because they say that he knew his killer, but I wonder if maybe he was walking into his house and then something happened after that, because that's a possibility as well. But you never know. Let's keep going. And where did I stop at? And on top of that, while whomever involved did ransack the home, many valuables were not taken. His fully loaded shotgun and the ammo, the money and the wallets he left around, and the very valuable jewelry hadn't been stolen. His safe was not all that hidden. No attempts appeared to be made to force it open, and nothing would have forced the thieves to open it at the scene. They could have simply brought it home with them, break it open in the privacy of their own homes. The only thing that was stolen was Ronald's house key. So was it a family member? Like, not necessarily an immediate family member, but maybe a cousin, uncle. I'm not sure how old. Not sure how old that would have been, but that would still been weird because it had to be somebody that he knew, especially to let them come into the house and not have to worry about them. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of right now. The police began the investigation by going door to door and questioning all of Ronald's neighbors. The witness would report seeing two men heading towards Ronald's house on November 30th. Another witness reported seeing him argue with two men in Larvik that same day. In an irritating setback for the police, neither could describe the two or even if they were the same two people the other witness saw. The police made one arrest, 43-year-old man who had previously threatened Ronald, but the police were later forced to release him as he had an alibi that led him being ruled out. Because of the semen and skin found under his nails, the police were able to gather a full DNA sample. Blood samples from over 400 people were taken, but none of the DNA matched the sample that they had on file. Likewise, the fingerprints didn't appear anywhere on Norway's criminal database. Despite all the leads chased by the police, not even one suspect had been named. On December 1st, 2010, they finally lost their last opportunity to solve the case when the statute of limitations passed. Less than a full year later, August 2011, one of his killers appeared to develop a guilty conscience. He called the police and finally confessed. Really? When was that killing? Back in 95? Hold up, Yeah, 95. Okay, so 20, my math right? 15 years later? Because it was in 2010, they're saying? So 15 years later? Okay. No, or 16 years later? Okay. Less than a full year later, August 2011, one of his killers appeared to develop a guilty conscience. He called the police, finally confessed, telling them he wanted to turn himself in. While it seemed as the case was finally solved, it didn't take long for the police to notice some problems. When the police questioned him about the details of the case, a large majority of questions were answered incorrectly. His DNA also ended up not being a match. By October 19th, he realized this and instead claimed that he was a mere accomplice. He also tried to say that the drunkenness was the reason for his sloppy confession. It, however, was too late. The man was let go and his confession was deemed false. Apparently, he came forward simply out of a morbid, pathological desire for attention. All right. In 2014, Norway amended its law on the statute of limitations, and any murder that happened after July 1st of 1989 could be pursued indefinitely, which Ronald's case fell under. On March 7th, 2017, DNA samples from an additional 70 people were taken, but still turned up no matches. In late 2023, wow, this thing is still going on now. Okay. In late 2023, a woman came forward with a statement after watching an episode of this on a late TV show, Austin Norge. Whatever this statement was, it led to a potential breakthrough. On March 4th, 2024, the police arrested this woman on the charge of aiding and abetting in causing grievous bodily harm. This is weird. Okay. The police were unable to link her to the murder itself, but allegedly, she was waiting outside, standing guard while two men carried out the murder. While the murder itself can still be investigated for however long the police deem fit, the statute of limitation for her charge expired in 2005, so she wouldn't be charged for a role in the murder, assuming she even played a role. Wow, that's crazy. So she can't. So as long as it's past statute of limitation, you can't. Nothing you do in the crime. I'm pretty sure they will try to find out something like how they did, in a sense, how they did OJ, or how I think they did OJ. I gotta learn more about that myself. But yeah, that would be interesting. So basically, you just keep running away, and then after you're guilty, after a certain amount of time, you're like, okay, I'll tell you now because you can't do nothing to me. That's still crazy. In the year since this development, no new information has come out, and still no description of the murderers. She was. Let's read that over again. That was terrible. In the year since this development, no information has come out, and still no description of the murderers said she was an accomplice to has come out. That sentence was written weird. That's why I couldn't read it. Oddly, no witnesses back in 1995 reported seeing a woman near his home, so this may be another false confession. As of now, that is where information on this case dries up. While the police now believe the motive to be personal, likely revenge-based as opposed to robbery, still not one single suspect was ever named, leaving the case completely deadlocked. While some do consider his 1960 conviction to be a factor, this has been dismissed as unlikely as the event had occurred. This has been dismissed as unlikely as the event occurred over 35 years later. And it says this year will mark the 30th anniversary of Ronald Ram's murder, one of Norway's most notorious cold cases. Wow. At first, I thought Ronald was the guy, but I forgot it's an unsolved case, so you wouldn't know the name of the guy. Man, the thing was, he was flaunting his money, which didn't help the situation. And then it had to be somebody he knew. Because yeah, they even took out the cat. I'm over reading the comments now. It says, how poorly have you lived your life when everyone feels worse for your cat? Yeah. Yeah, this is yeah, everybody is saying Ronald got what he deserved. And then it's like, and then they said cat gets murdered, and it's like, oh, okay, who's with me on hunting down this sick bastard and making them pay for his awful crime? Yeah, that is yeah, because I still don't understand what happened, why the cat was involved, but other than you just kill him, but they might be right. It had to be somebody he knew, because he probably knew that he liked the cat, and so they probably skinned the cat. If I had to take a guess, that honestly is probably what happened. Yeah. Oh, somebody said the Norwegian police are not allowed to use genealogy sites in investigations due to GDPR. Oh, wow. Somebody said they learned this. Listen to the Death in Ice Valley podcast about Isdal woman. Wow. Yeah, I hope they changed the rules on that too, because that's kind of dumb. I feel like this is what you would need, especially with all the technology you have today. Why would you not use every advantage you have to find, especially for a case like this, if you're still actually trying to pursue it? Yeah, actually use everything you have, every resource you have. Go ahead and use it. Okay, the last one I think I'm gonna read. Somebody said they agree. It reeks of being revenge. I think the ransacking of the house was them looking for something. Pictures, maybe? Why the house key? Were they planning to come back? Doubtful. Maybe it was for the symbolism. Maybe he sexually assaulted someone of whom he had the key to the house. Why the cat? To hurt the victim. They knew how much his cat meant to him. That would be the only reason I think they got the cat. At first I said they didn't care, but after you know they knew him, yeah, that would be the main reason. Yeah. All right. Let's go. Do I have my water? Yeah. Let us go to our second story. Somebody said this story will be long. The bizarre case of Noah Donaway? Donohoe. Donahoe doesn't sound right, so I'm going to go Donway. Donway? All right. You're just going to be Noah. Ah, Noah's only 14? Jeez. Oh, man. All right. Let's go again. This seems like another case outside the U.S., but yeah, let's keep going. By all accounts, 14-year-old Noah was a normal, bright young boy living his life in Belfast, Northern Ireland. He excelled in math and science at school, and he had even received awards in the latter category. He was also musically inclined as he played the cello, and as can be expected of any teenage boy, he also enjoyed playing soccer with his friends, and the principal of Noah's school even referred to him as the perfect gentleman with a heart of a lion. All that to say, the events of June 21st, 2020 could not have been more unexpected. Sometime in the early evening of that day, Noah grabbed his backpack filled with a few books and his laptop and took off on his bicycle to meet some friends to work on a project for school. Tragically, he would never make it. Thankfully, there's a fair amount of CCTV footage that can at least give us some insights into what happened to him on that journey. The timeline, 5:45 p.m. Noah leaves his home with his backpack on his bike to meet his friends at Cave Hill Country Park, only a couple miles from his school. Here he plans to work with his friends on the aforementioned school project. 5:50 p.m. Noah is riding down Royal Avenue, a street running through busy downtown Belfast. By the time he gets to the end of Royal Avenue, he is without his backpack. No witnesses ever came forward claiming to see Noah was separated from his backpack, and no CCTV footage of this event has been found either. 6 p.m. Noah is seen crashing off his bike. A bus driver comes over to help, but Noah rides off before he can get there. A few minutes later, Noah is seen about 3 miles from his destination on Northwood Road, an area he was unfamiliar with. I'm assuming that's according to his parents. However, he is now without his helmet or clothing. What? His hoodie, helmet, and shoes would be found later scattered nearby local residents. His underwear, t-shirt, and shorts have never been recovered. Sometimes after, Noah is seen naked riding his bike by 2 witnesses into the cul-de-sac. 6:03 p.m. Noah is seen walking naked alongside a house in the direction of a storm drain. As far as we know, that is all the footage we have of Noah Donaway on that fateful journey. I wouldn't call that a journey, but what in the world? I don't understand what happened, if he was meeting his friends or if it seems like he was trying to get away, but he's not screaming, and then he wouldn't let the bus driver help him either after he got hit. I wonder what happened in that time span. But they're saying, his parents are saying they left at 5:45. And then basically in a matter of 15 minutes, technically, yeah, in a matter of about 15 minutes. Okay. I don't know what could have. Okay, let's throw out a few scenarios. The boys weren't his friends that he was going to meet up with, but he wanted to be friends with them. 14, was he in high school or was he in last year of 8th grade? I'm not sure what the schooling is overseas. 'Cause I know just watching anime and whatnot, usually they start later. You have 3 years of high school instead of the 4 you have here. So I don't know. At 14, he could still technically be in middle school, I guess, or whatever they call school overseas. Okay. He ran into, but no, even if he runs to the bus driver knew him, or if the bus driver attacked him, well, I guess the bus driver did attack him, but he was a bus driver, unless he had previous knowledge with this bus driver. I don't know. It's kind of weird. I guess I should keep on going, and we'll figure stuff out. As far as we know, that is all the footage we have of Noah Donaway on that fateful journey. Around 9:30 p.m. that night, worried about her son's failure to return home, Noah's mother reports him missing. She initially became concerned when Noah failed to call her around 6:30 p.m., when he should have been arriving at the park to meet his friends. About a day after Noah was last seen, a local woman reports that Noah's bicycle is laying at the bottom of her driveway. This woman lived in the cul-de-sac where Noah was seen walking naked. Okay, let's stop there. I forgot about that part. This is a little boy you see been basically unclothed and something's wrong. Why does nobody take him in if they see him walking naked? I don't understand what's going on. Somebody should have been, especially as a parent, somebody been like, hey, what's this little boy doing? Let me go check to make sure everything's okay and take him in. I don't know what happened. And I'm pretty sure I thought overseas, the culture was to actually help people like that, or help your neighborhood anyway. I don't know, especially a kid. All right, let's get back to it. This woman lived in the cul-de-sac where Noah was seen walking naked. Naturally, the police immediately searched around her home, including a nearby storm drain, but were unable to locate Noah or any evidence of his presence outside of the bicycle. Not long after, the search and rescue squads were brought in to search the area around Northwood Road, where the aforementioned items of clothing were found. It was during this search that Noah's phone was found to be in a local park he passed on his way to Northwood Road. A few days after Noah went missing, the local police superintendent held a press conference in which he laid out the police's initial theory of what happened to Noah. They theorized that when Noah fell off his bike, he hit his head hard enough to cause a brain injury and disorientation, leading him to undressing and wandering off. Noah's family and their supporters were and still are skeptical of this story, which I would be too. Because if I hit my head hard enough, I should be knocked out. I'm thinking. I should be concussed or something. And so I shouldn't be able to get back on my bike and be able to ride straight at that anymore. And be honest with you, somebody should be able to come get me, especially if I'm 14. That same day, the police received what appeared to be a rather big break in the case. A local criminal and drug addict was caught trying to pawn Noah's laptop. The owner of this shop called the police on Daryl Paul when he realized the laptop belonged to the missing boy. Police would later receive an anonymous tip that Paul had also tried to sell the laptop at a party the previous night. Naturally, the police apprehended Paul and brought him in for questioning. When he was arrested, he was also found to be in possession of Noah's backpack and books. During the questioning, Paul claimed to have found the backpack leaned against a building at the bottom of Royal Avenue, the area in which the police believed Noah had separated from his backpack in some way. Paul would later be sentenced to 3 months in prison for stealing the backpack. However, he was ruled out as a suspect in Noah's disappearance, as CCTV shows Paul in a different part of the city during the time the boy went missing. All right, stop there. Okay, so I think they put Paul in jail just because they needed to put somebody in there to appease people, because I guess technically he did steal the backpack, but if Noah never goes missing, then I guess he never gets found in the first place, and nobody even cares about him trying to sell a laptop that he stole. So I think that's the only reason that he goes to jail, in my personal opinion. As could be expected for such a high-profile and controversial case, social media went wild. There were allegations of this being a hate crime due to Noah's race and religion. We'll cover this possibility more later. I was not aware of this. Okay, let's keep going. Plus, there were some usual cases of people making false claims of their involvement in order to gain some semblance and attention. 6 days after his disappearance, everyone's worst fears were sadly confirmed when the police announced that the 14-year-old Noah's body had been found in a narrow storm drain behind Northwood Road, the road where he was last seen on CCTV. The case would only become more contentious and controversial from here. That's sad. Jeez. All right, now it looks like they're getting into the investigation. An autopsy would later confirm or determine that Noah had died by drowning, having crawled into the unlocked storm drain and potentially becoming stuck. The police believe Noah had been in the storm drain the entire 6 days he went missing. As far as we know, no drugs or alcohol were found in his system. His family and others disagree with authorities' conclusion on this case, pointing to the relative lack of decomposition in such a wet environment. In August of that year, the coroner would tell an inquest that there was no evidence of there being any other party involved in Noah's death. That is so weird. Noah's recovered phone would eventually become a controversial topic in this case. For one, a photo of a hand was found on the phone seemingly after it had been abandoned by Noah, claimed to be around 6:50 that day. Granted, this could have simply been someone who stumbled across the phone and picked it up, accidentally taking a picture of their hand. But some of the more conspiracy-minded folks have claimed it shows a sign of an involved party. Of interest to many, there were seemingly unusual Google searches and social media activity on the boy's phone on the day leading up to his disappearance. He had seemingly been messaging an account he had believed to be run by Jordan Peterson, the often controversial psychologist. Noah seemed to have a very strong interest in Jordan. Wait, is it Peterson or Patterson? Okay. Yeah, they done spelled it differently this time. All right, Jordan. Let's go Patterson this time. Jordan Patterson, being an avid reader of his and listener of his podcast, he had been researching a number of religious topics, such as Sodom and Gomorrah, and had been seeking out advice on how to ward off Satan. These could be just the searches of a bored teen boy, though some have claimed they point to Noah's suffering a mental health crisis on the day he went missing. But why would he be going to see his friends? That would be, and then why would he have it as he's riding the bike to go see his friends? And he just snaps in the middle of riding the bike. Now, when he gets hit by the bus, I kind of get how he could be disoriented or not fully in his right mind. But what I still wouldn't understand is how his bag gets taken. Because I think that's the part we're missing right now. His bag gets taken, and then parts of his clothes get taken, and then now he's naked riding around his bike before, and then his bike crashes, and then now he's lost and gone for 6 days. But Noah's family has taken severe disagreement with authorities' conclusion on this case. To be clear, some of these claims are hard to verify, and things can get muddy in cases like this, but they are worth mentioning. For example, it was hard to find much detail on the autopsy outside of the cause of death, though presumably any mentions of wounds or abrasions would have been made public. The family claims there was no way Noah would have even known the storm drain existed. They claim it would have been impossible for Noah to climb 950 meters through the storm drain due to obstructions and chambers. For their part, the authorities have never said whether they believe Noah climbed through the drain complex or was washed down there after his death by water. They did acknowledge that the complex is an extremely challenging pitch black environment. The family also claims there was only water damage to Noah's hands and feet, and potentially odd occurrence. If he was laying there in water for 6 days, wait a second, I've read that wrong. The family also claims there was only water damage to Noah's hands and feet, and a potentially odd occurrence if he were laying there in water for 6 days. That is true. They also claim, I'm trying to get to the part, because I'm assuming Noah's black, if I had to take a guess. And what would be the religion now? Because I'm assuming Christian, but could he have been Muslim? I don't know. I don't have to know more about the Quran. I'm pretty sure Sodom and Gomorrah would be in there if I take a guess. They also claim 4 witnesses heard screams in the area that night of Noah's disappearance. Finally, the family claims the autopsy found no evidence of a serious brain injury to Noah. Okay, they're about to get into theories here in a second, but I'm gonna throw my theories before I read these theories. Okay, so they say, all right, he said there was a racial aspect to it. If Noah was black, about to meet his friends, but who finds him? Something happens to Noah within these 15 minutes. Where was Noah being bullied at school, and these guys knew it? But then the thing would be, even if he was being bullied, not even if he was being bullied, but if he was being bullied, he wouldn't have want to go with his friends. So it wasn't his friends, I wouldn't say, but it could have been somebody either from the school or from the neighborhood. Now, my only other thing would have been, why didn't Noah go back home after he lost his stuff? Now, it could have been that his parents would have been angry he lost his laptop. I don't know his parents. I'm just throwing out ideas, and he didn't know how to deal with that. Yeah, he got all this stuff stolen, and he fought and lost. But it doesn't seem like there was any. And I don't think they mentioned anything of a fight or anything like that. They say there's no. Let's go into the theories, but I don't know what. I can't think of what would have happened to Noah that. Yeah, what would have happened to Noah in those 15 minutes? The thing is, there had to been something that happened like days, weeks, months, possibly before this, and then this was a perfect opportunity for someone to strike on Noah. Because we don't know of any Noah's enemies. It seems like Noah was a good kid, but still, kids are kids at the end of the day. So parents see him one way, say their friends see him another way, and then there's how they actually are. But I would assume Noah's a good kid, but I don't know who his enemies were, because it seems like he has enemies. All right, let's go into the theories that are posted here. There's certainly no shortage of theories in this case. From the rumors of needle-wielding homeless drug addicts to the substantiated jailhouse confession by a loyalist paramilitary group. Ooh, that was a word. However, we'll stick to some of the more mainstream theories. Theory 1, a head injury leading to an accidental drowning. Might as well start off with the official explanation. While the family claims there was no evidence of a severe head injury in the autopsy, concussions are often microscopic in nature and can be nearly impossible to diagnose outside of neurological testing. So it doesn't seem too hard to believe that Noah fell off his bike, suffered a concussion, became confused and disoriented, undressed, and in his disoriented state, he wandered around before finding his way to a storm drain, becoming stuck and tragically drowning. What I don't truly get about that, as I'm moving a few things around, is if he had a concussion. Okay, he could still, because like football players get concussions, they're not necessarily knocked all the way out, but they're still not. First, he is correct; they're not in the right mind. But after a certain period of time, he wouldn't be able to, especially at 14. I guess he wouldn't be able to handle it, but he wouldn't be as fast. He wouldn't be able to run away from the bus driver unless the bus driver just like super old and super slow. That would be the only thing I can think of. And he shouldn't be able to drive his bike straight again if he has a concussion, especially if he's disoriented. As soon as he picked up the bike and tried to drive, he should have fell back down again. So that's the only thing that confused me. And how hard did he hit this bus for it to be like that? All right, let's go to mental illness 2, or theory 2, mental illness or psychotic break. This theory is very similar to the head injury theory, with the only difference being that Noah was suffering from a rapidly onset mental illness or going through a psychotic break, leading to the odd events being captured on CCTV or ultimately his death. Evidence for this can be potentially found in his over-infatuation with Jordan Peterson, not specifically because of who Peterson is, but the obsession he had with him. And his somewhat peculiar, heavy research regarding religious beliefs and text on the day of his death. Obviously, suddenly abandoning one's plans and removing your clothing before climbing into a storm drain are potential signs of a serious mental break. Of potential note is that Noah actually was caught on CCTV sneaking out of his home at 3:30 a.m. on the morning of the day of his disappearance. He returned approximately half an hour later without the headphones and flip-flops he left with and soaking wet from the rain. Uh, okay. So, okay, this 3:30 a.m. thing, and this is exactly what I mean when I say kids are kids. So, parents see them one way, and they could be potentially somebody totally different. Okay, so let's take this. I'm sneaking out the house because obviously his parents didn't know this fact. Because if they did, he wouldn't have left. Probably wouldn't have been able to left later that day. So it seems like he is going to meet somebody. I don't know who, but he's meeting somebody because he comes back. He sneaks out and then he returns back. And somebody's taking stuff from him. But who is he going to meet up? Or he owes somebody something. According to this, I'm over here trying to figure the thing out. Because let's just say, okay, let's say he made a bet, right? And he owes somebody some money. And kids, they talk. They going at it. He said, bet you can't do this, bet you can't do that. All right, now pay me what you owe. And Noah couldn't do it. Now he's like, give me everything. I want your laptop, I want your headphones, give me the shoes off your feet. This is honestly where the issue could come. Noah might have made a bet and lost. And now it's time to pay up. That could honestly be the issue here. All right, let's keep going. Theory 3 is foul play. As the case with many disappearances and strange deaths, foul play is a popular theory. That being said, there isn't much evidence pointing in that direction. Through his journey, we never see Noah interact with anyone, though it's possible he did so off camera. The authorities have directly said there is no evidence of foul play. However, there are a few things worth mentioning. Noah was a mixed-race Catholic boy who was riding through a largely white and Protestant area of the city. Certainly a hate crime cannot be totally ruled out. In fact, just a few weeks before Noah's disappearance, a 15-year-old boy had been attacked in that area in what was claimed to be a religiously motivated attack. Maybe Noah stumbled across the group of individuals who harassed him and chased or forced him into the storm drain until he became stuck. Or maybe someone robbed him of his backpack and he sped off. In his panic, crashing his bike, suffering a head injury that ultimately led to his demise. Certainly, these ideas, mostly speculative, but it's difficult to definitively rule them out. Maybe, because the thing is, what I'm thinking about now is what's something that Noah could do that he could not tell his parents. And something that he couldn't do. This right here, he could, after losing his laptop, or let's say this group of individuals stole his laptop, he could go run back to tell his parents what happened, and everything would be okay. But what's something that he could do that he could not do, or actually that he could do and not tell his parents about? And that would be gambling something, and then not being able to pay it back. Because in a kid's mind, you're thinking everything is bigger than what it really is. And something like this, you're like, man, I can't never tell my parents because they'll never forgive me. And at the end of the day, this is something you probably should tell your parents about. So right now, I'm stuck on that because I'm thinking it's leading more towards that. It could be something sexual, but I don't think it would be necessarily that quick. But you never know with these type of cases. Which sucks for Noah at the end of the day, because you just hate to see anything like this. But if I had to If I had to take a guess on what I think this is, I'm thinking that Noah made a bet with somebody that he couldn't pay off, especially reading at 3:31. Him leaving 3:30 in the morning and coming back with nothing, and then I'm starting to think Noah's probably doubling down, and now Noah doesn't know what to do, and Noah is panicked, he's scared, and maybe this guy is threatening the family. It could be an older person, if I had to take a guess, that he made a bet with, and now he can't pay him back, and this older guy wants his money, and now he's taking his stuff, his belongings. He doesn't know what to tell his parents. I doubt it could be a kid, but I wouldn't rule that out. But I would say somebody with an older person, because older people know how to, not necessarily just older. Well, I will say older people know how to manipulate situations better than how kids do. So if I had to take a guess, that's what I'm laying my hat on in this scenario. But I'm interested in hearing the theories. Theory 4, suicide. It says while the family claims Noah was happy and not suicidal, the psychiatrist who examined witness statements, medical records, forensic reports, and CCTV has come forward in her investigation to say she believes Noah died by suicide as a result of low mood and struggling with his sexuality. There's obviously a lot to unpack here, so let's start why the psychiatrist believes this. Essentially, she comes to the conclusion that Noah could not reconcile with the possibility of himself being gay with his perception of Jordan Peterson's beliefs and values. He had been looking up religious topics on the day of his death, possibly reflecting his inner struggle between his sexuality and his religious beliefs. Now it's important to note that the only evidence of Noah struggling with his sexuality come in a series of vague text messages to friends in which he says he is in denial and coming out. His family, friends, and teachers all claim to have seen no signs of him struggling with his sexuality. Not to mention, why climb in a storm drain to drown yourself if you're going to commit suicide? Certainly, it's understood that those who are suicidal do things we don't understand, but personally, this feels like a stretch. And then it says, in the end, it'll be difficult to ever know what happened to Noah on that summer evening. What we do know is that the bright, talented young boy tragically lost his life that day, and that is the truth, and which is sad. Suicide argument, that would probably be the next best argument in my opinion. But the storm drain would confuse me a little bit. Why he would, unless he like goes in there to weep, but at the same time, why would you lose your book bag over it? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, why would you lose your laptop? Why would you lose your books? Why are you losing all this stuff? Now, actually, now I'm over here thinking about my gambling argument. It might not necessarily be true either now I think about it. I just thought about something in the case about how the guy said he found the laptop and the books just like on the side somewhere. If that's true, so why would his books? Yeah, because they wouldn't have been able to find it. And the thing is, didn't they say his clothes? There was somewhere in here that said his clothes weren't ever found again, right? His underwear wasn't found. Let me, if I can search it real quick. Yeah, it says his underwear, t-shirt, and shorts have never been recovered. And Noah is seen naked riding his bike by two witnesses in a cul-de-sac. And that was around 6 p.m. So is sexuality being questioned? Again, this goes to something you feel like you can't tell your parents. So that's why I'm putting this necessarily higher on the list. My gambling take might actually have to go down. Because I don't think, because now thinking about it, if I want to take something from you, I'm going to make sure I keep it and take it for myself. I'm not going to leave it somewhere. The sexuality thing being if he got necessarily rejected or told somebody, came out to somebody, and it wasn't the ideal scenario that he wanted, that could have been That could have been an issue. Why do you leave your house um, early in the morning? I would say you could be gay and straight, whatever. I would say because you really want something bad, and that could be possibly an issue. Yeah, that's it. Man, these cases, man, jeez. It just sucks that he's a 14-year-old boy and just can't live the rest of his life over whatever it was, you know. Whatever he was going through, man, it's just sad. Let's see. Somebody said an important additional factor is that he snuck out of his home in the middle of the night, hours before he went missing. It says in the pouring rain at 3:30 a.m. and returned about 35 minutes soaking wet, minus his headphones and his flip-flops. This makes me lean into being This makes me lean into it being a psychotic break, possibly exacerbated by the fall. Poor kid. What a terrible way to die, alone in the dark, lost and drowning. I agree with that. Yeah, he just had his whole life ahead of him. And it says, I wonder if he may have fallen in the rain that night, sustained a concussion, resulting in erratic behavior hours later. But, okay, only thing about the erratic behavior, he knew he was going to visit his friends, right? Or maybe he never intended to go visit his friends. But did he have enough sense to tell his parents that he was? Because from 3:30 a.m. to 5 p.m., that's a big lapse. That's a big jump in time. So I'm pretty sure people that have concussions usually, not, I'm not going to say usually because I don't know, but I'm assuming if a concussion is that bad, he's vomiting and throwing up and he's not normal. His parents should be able to tell that unless they've just been working all day ever since he woke up and never saw him really. Um, Man, that is sad for this kid though. Let's see what else. What else is on here? Somebody said this is what I thought. Like maybe he was going outside after an innocuous reason, lending a friend the headphones, for example. Slipped, fell, hurt his head. The flip flops could have just gotten stuck in the mud somewhere, but this might have been the start of his troubles. Um, yeah, this is the tough part about this. Um, somebody put a long comment. All right. There's nowhere near his home he could have slipped and fallen or got his flip flop stuck in the mud to lose him. Where he lived is very cosmopolitan. He could have walked to the nearest park, but again, it's not marshy or the type of environment he would get bogged down and lose his things. Laptop and bag were in his hands of known drug dealers. The theory that it was payment for a debt, along with earphones, I believe is the strongest one. Yeah, that's the one I was going with. Or the sexual. I think I put the sexual ahead of it now, just because the bag was still found. We would have believed that it's a coincidence his items were found by a dangerous drug dealer. And it's a coincidence his body was found in the backyard of the family of a known serial killer of his kind. That would be a very coincidental lack of luck the child had while suffering a psychosis event. Belfast is a safe enough city, and the child someone managed to cross paths with two of his darkest elements while cycling through the city on a lazy Sunday afternoon. I don't think I could be that unlucky, even if I was actively looking for dangerous people. People don't like this person's comment. I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, because it wasn't mentioned about the drug deal. I thought it was just somebody found his bag. Yeah, and people saying either that or he was meeting someone. Well, we know he was meeting someone. Somebody also puts, I wonder if he could have been sneaking out for a hookup. Considering that he was potentially struggling with his sexuality, he could have been experimenting. The hookup could have gone wrong. Maybe he regretted it, resulting in a mental break the next day. That's the one I want to go with. The flip-flops and headphones missing is odd, though, and most likely related to a psychotic break, given how he ditched his backpack and clothes the next day before vanishing. So, let's do this, because I'm trying to think of a scenario. So, girl or guy. Okay, let's just say girl or guy. Okay, he goes 3:30. He goes 3:30. Meets a girl. Meets a guy. Right. All right. Let's say he leaves the headphones because everything is going well. Now the flip flops, I don't understand why the flip flops would be gone because I'm not forgetting my flip flops unless he leaves because somebody's parents is breaking into the room or somebody's parents, somebody caught him. That could be an issue, and that's the reason he doesn't have his headphones or his flip flops now. Somebody possibly caught him, and now that's where the issue comes in. And now he thinks he's about to get caught because I'm trying to think of things of where you wouldn't tell your parents as a kid. Anyway, as a kid, what is something that you wouldn't tell your parents? The gambling, and you owing people money. You wouldn't want to tell your parents that as a kid, and the sexual stuff, and and him possibly being gay, that could just be adding more to it, especially if the parent. It seems like the parents are from a Catholic background, so that could be an issue in itself. But also sneaking out. Let's just say it's a girl. He was sneaking out 3:30, and then he possibly got caught, and hoping the other parents don't tell. But no, that wouldn't, because then he goes back, and obviously he's going back not to see his friends. He's going back. He probably lied to his parents. That's probably the one of the issues here. Probably lied to his parents. He probably didn't have, because he said he had a project in June, if I remember right. If he had a project in June, isn't school usually out in June? I'm not sure how it is in European countries, but I thought school was out unless he's going to school year round because this is summer. So I'm not totally sure about this one. I That's what I said. I'm putting the sexual one up because it was something that you couldn't tell your parents. That, um, and then him possibly being gay. That, especially if you're coming from a Catholic family, like Catholic, Christian, Muslim, any of those religious type of families. That's something that's heavily frowned upon. So doing that would cause great issue. So, and then will be a reason to go back because you now need to talk to this person, confirm everything's okay, especially if you almost got caught. If you almost got caught or did get caught, I would say, and then you get caught. There's so many scenarios because I'm over here thinking of another scenario. What if he was just standing outside of somebody's window because he actually, no, I'm trying to think of possibly stalking, but no, because then he actually went and met this person again because he had no plans to go meet his friends. I don't think he did. He acted like he was meeting his friends, and that's why he brought his laptop and his books. He had no plans to meet his friends. Yeah, it's either he owed a debt. It's two things. Either owe the debt, and I'm gonna go here the possibility of him being gay. It had to be one of the two. That's the only thing I can think of. There's there's no man. It's sad though. It's sad though because he gets hit by the bus. I I don't know. It depends on how hard the bus hit him. I feel like that should have been on CCTV footage because if he was concussed, the bus driver should have been able to get him. But it should have something because why wouldn't you have your t-shirt, underwear? Yeah, unless you are doing something sexual. But what piece of clothing did he have? Hold on. Let me see. Let me go back. I'm over here trying to search. Okay. His hoodie, helmet, and shoes would be later found scattered nearby local residents. His underwear, t-shirt, and shorts have never been recovered. Sometime after, Noah is seen naked riding his bike by two witnesses in a cul-de-sac. So Noah was with somebody. And it's clear, well, obviously, he was with somebody because somebody took his stuff. But, I mean, he was with somebody sexually. Because why wouldn't you have your underwear? Why can't they find the underwear, shorts, or the t shirt? I would say, because that would be the last article of clothing that you take off. The first would be the hoodie, helmet, and shoes. The last would be the t-shirt, the shorts, and the underwear. Yeah, this case is a lot bigger than you think it is. Dang, man, you feel bad for family. I'll say if he had any siblings. Yeah, that's just the sad part about all these cases, man. Man, you just start reading them, you're like, oh man. This is, let me see where this is again, because I keep saying a European country, but in Ireland. Okay. Man, yeah, Noah Donaway family, man. Yeah, yeah. That was a long one, but hopefully, well, yeah, hopefully Noah's in a better place now. But yeah, that just sucks. Just sucks. All right, let me see if okay. All right, we have one more that I'll do. It's a story by David Lohr called Capital City Murders. And then we will end it here. I just need to check real quick just to make sure. Okay, yep, still good there. All right. All right. Let's go ahead and get started on this thing. Oh, I do need to. Do I need to check the chat? I do not. I wonder one day I won't even have to say that. Well, I just got to stay consistent. That's the main thing. All right. Catherine Rothschild entered the University of Wisconsin in 1967 after having graduated with honors from Senn High School in Chicago, Illinois. Her parents and three sisters lived in a modest home on the Chicago's north side, where her father worked as a president of a local brokerage firm. Christine enjoyed her classes and had high hopes of becoming a journalist upon graduation. She was an attractive young woman with long blondish brown hair and often spent her summers modeling for department store catalogs. Oh man, I see where this is going. I know I'm under unsolved mysteries or stories, but jeez, golly. During the spring of 1968, the weather was miserably cold and wet, but Catherine kept upbeat by looking forward to a long-awaited visit with her family in Chicago. Unfortunately, fate intervened, and an 18-year-old Christine became the first victim of the Capital City serial killer. On a dreary May evening in 1968, a male student discovered her body hidden behind some shrubbery outside of Sterling Hall, a mathematics building located on North Carter Street. After going over the crime scene, investigators theorized that Christine had been killed early that morning while out jogging. The coroner ruled that she had died as a result of at least 12 stab wounds to the chest. Good God. As the summer wore on, investigators looked into several suspects, but none proved to be the killer. At one point, they offered a $5,000 reward for the information relating to the murder, but that also proved to be futile. With no new suspects, a murder weapon, or any leads to follow, the case was placed into a cold case folder. A year later, after the bombing of the UW administration building, what is going on? On August 24th, 1970, Sterling Hall, the building next to the spot where Christine Rothschild's body was found, was bombed, and a 33-year-old researcher died as the result of the blast. Soon, investigators had 4 suspects in the crime, and federal warrants were issued at Madison charging 4 men, with sabotage, destruction of government property, and conspiracy. 3 of the 4 were later arrested and convicted of the bombing. As the years went by, most people forgot Christine Rothschild murder, and those few who hadn't simply chalked it up as a freak incident unlikely to occur again. And so it would be until July 21st, 1976, where the charred and decomposed remains of 20-year-old Deborah Bennett were discovered by land assessors in a gully along Old Sauk Pass Road, approximately 14 miles from Madison in western Dane County. Wait, did they say charred like burned? Oh my goodness. An autopsy conducted by Dr. Billy Bauman revealed that Deborah had been dead for at least 10 days, but the exact cause of death was unknown. A fractured collarbone and dental records had enabled her identification. Soon after her discovery, the investigators learned from friends that she had recently been evicted from her apartment and had been staying in a room at the Cardinal Hotel in downtown Madison, a native of Ridgeway in Iowa County. Deborah had only lived in the area a short time. Investigators had no suspects and very little evidence to go on. In a mysterious twist, 3 weeks after her body was found, the key to her room was mailed to the hotel. There was no note, return address, or any identifying marks. Investigators have yet to release the postmark information or the results of the examination they conducted for latent prints. As with Christine Rothschild's murder, the case was eventually filed away in a folder pending future leads. 2 years would pass until another brutal discovery rocked the area. It was once again a summer day on which another young woman was found in a shallow grave along Woodland Road in Waunakee, just 14 miles outside of the city of Madison. Okay, so I'm going to pause there because as a woman, I'd have been gone. I was like, it's too many things that's going on. It would be too many stories I would have had to know about. I would have just left. The victim had been dead for at least 3 days and had apparently died as a result of blunt force trauma to the head. It took investigators nearly 2 days to identify the body as that of 18-year-old Julie Ann Hall. According to Hall's friends, just weeks earlier, on May 1st, 1978, Julie had secured a job as a library assistant on the university campus. She was last seen on a Friday night when she went out to a local pub, Main King Tap, a short distance from Madison's Capitol Square. Again, there are no suspects and no evidence pointing toward the killer. Julie Spearschneider mysteriously vanished, according to witnesses. Another girl. Okay, I missed this first part. Jeez, man. Okay, so March 27th was Julie, and now we have another one. Let's see, Julie. On March 27th, 1979, 20-year-old Julie Spearschneider mysteriously vanished. According to witnesses, she had spent most of the evening at 602 Club, a bar at 602 University Avenue, when she decided to hitchhike to a friend's house. My God, I think as a woman, you cannot do that, especially nowadays. Well, I guess it's back in the day, but still, I would never do. Well, I guess you have Uber now, but I think they're supposed to be verified. I can't remember. Shortly after her disappearance, a man told police that he had picked up Julie, who he had recognized from the media reports, along with a male companion, and dropped them off at the corner of Johnson and Brearley. The witness gave a description of the man to investigators, but they were unable to identify him. Julie had many friends and at the time of her disappearance worked at the Red Caboose Daycare Center, where coworkers described her as a reliable, friendly employee. Friends and relatives offered a reward for information and at one point consulted a psychic in hopes of locating her. In April of 1980, Julie Spearschneider was still missing when the body of 24-year-old Susan LeMahieu was found lying in the weeds near Madison Arboretum. Arboretum? I'm not saying it right because it's saying like I'm saying abortion, but I'm saying Arboretum, I believe. A 1974 graduate of Madison's East High School. Susan was mildly autistic and physically handicapped. Yeah, I couldn't use the word that was about to get me to say. Good Lord. Get me capped before I even make it. While she had been reported missing on December 15th, police did not initially suspect foul play and had considered the possibility that she had run off or was wandering around confused as a result of her disabilities. Okay, I guess that does make sense. But an autopsy determined that she had died as a result of multiple stab wounds to the chest. Why are we allowing people here? 1 year after the discovery of Susan LeMahieu, on April 1981, Charles Beard, 16, was hiking along the Yaharo River when he came across the skeletal remains of Julie Spearschneider. Because of the decomposed state in which she was found, the investigators were unable to determine the exact cause of death. 3 months later, July 1981, we got this. Did I click serial killers? Jeez. 1981, the body of 17-year-old Shirley Stewart was found in a wooded area of Madison. The youngest of all the victims. Oh yeah, 17, geez. Well, still all of them. Good Lord, they're still all young. She had been missing since January 2nd, 1980, so January to July, okay. After leaving her job at the Dean Clinic, Shirley's body was very decomposed, and Deputy Coroner Donald Scullion was unable to establish the exact cause of death. They're not finding nobody's cause of death. First off, they're not finding the person who's doing all this. It was nearly a year before another young woman was mysteriously killed in the Madison area. I'm gonna stop there. I understand. I understand why fathers don't want their daughters going anywhere now, especially if this type of stuff is going to happen. On July 2nd, 1982, 19-year-old Donna Mraz was stabbed repeatedly behind Camp Randall Stadium. Mraz was on her way home from State Street, where she earned tuition money as a waitress. The killer left behind her money, paycheck, and keys, and there was no indication of sexual assault. So this dude was just sick. Lieutenant Gary Moore of UW Police told Wix TV she never regained consciousness. For all intents and purposes, the young lady was dead when she hit the ground. With no witnesses or motive, investigators were again stumped. Like, how's this dude just doing this? The final murder in this really, we're calling it a series now, took place on November 17th, 1984. Deer hunters in the town of Buena Vista found the body of a partially clad young woman in a wooded area southeast of Highway 54. The body was eventually identified as that of 20-year-old Janet M. Rosh, a University of Wisconsin student, a business major in her third year at UW. Rosh had worked at Debo Center on campus. Friends had reported her missing on October 15th, but she was last seen on October 11th in 1984, when a friend dropped her off on Highway 54 in the town of Buena Vista, about 2 miles west of where her body was found. What do you mean, dropped her off on the highway? I keep forgetting these are different times, but still, it just seems so dumb now. Decomposition made it difficult to determine the exact cause of death, and the coroner was unable to pinpoint the time of death, saying she could have died a week to 10 days before the body was found. It sucks for all these women. In December 1999, Captain James Lamar of the Sheriff's Department of Operations Division in Portage County, Wisconsin, discussed that the murder of Janet Rosh with the Portage County Gazette. There was not much investigators could do now without new information, Lamar said. An investigator had been assigned to the case, which is literally a box of paperwork, is considered an open case here. We do periodically review it. We truly feel we have exhausted everything available at the time, but again, it's subject to review. Detective Harlan Hetrick of the UW Police Department gave an interview to WISC-TV on May 10, 2002, regarding the murder of Donna Mraz, in which he stated that she was a decent person, honorable person, not a person with a problem, just enjoying going to school and doing a good job. During that same segment, former UW Police Lieutenant Gary Moore said, "It isn't just a job, it becomes an obsession. In ways, everybody who worked the case felt the same way. This case really haunts you. This case really haunts you. It really shook me to the core. That's for sure." Deputy Coroner David Scullion gave an interview to the Portage County Gazette in which he said, "I personally feel there are several similarities. The patterns are wooded areas, off the roadways, and concealed areas." Huh. Yeah. I still don't understand the one that got dropped off on the highway. It is also interesting to note that each victim was young, wore her hair long and parted in the same manner eerily reminiscent of Ted Bundy's victims, and all the victims were found within a short distance of Madison, Wisconsin. In addition, they are all somehow associated with the University of Wisconsin, either through classes, employment, or living at a campus residence. So this dude just killed people in Wisconsin? Why? At one point in 1984, serial killer Henry Lee Lucas confessed to several of the killings, but later recanted those confessions. Many of the original investigators still feel Lucas was responsible for some of the murders, but given his track record for false confessions and the fact that Lucas was in prison at many of the times that many of the murders were committed, it is very doubtful that Lucas was involved. Yeah, he just wanted credit. Yeah, because man, you really do have some sick individuals in this world. Let's say, especially you want to take credit. You want to take credit for murders because you want to be seen as that type of person. But why? At the end of the day, when a series of murders stops, police and citizens alike are very relieved. It is not always clear that the murders have really stopped, and the killer is not just in some cooling off periods, or is perhaps disposing of victims in a way that their remains will not be found. What is probably called for is an additional two-pronged investigation to determine from missing persons reports whether the killer may still be alive, sorry, man, how do I read words that aren't there? May still be active in covering up the evidence of his crimes, and if he is not determined to be active, what may account for the murders ending in November 1984. A review of local suspects and violent offenders incarcerated in the mid-1980s could shed some light on the reasons the murder stopped when they did. Yeah, man, I wouldn't get it. I'll say what makes us stop. What makes you start? I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you the mind of a killer. I guess, man, I guess maybe you do this enough, you learn. But yeah, that's it. And that was Capital City Murders by David Lohr. But yeah, yeah, I couldn't imagine being in that. Just live. Well, I guess I lived in the 90s, but I would never been dropped off on the side of the highway. I know that much. But man, this sucks. Again, it's just terrible. Well, I guess what goes through a mind of a killer, what makes them, I guess they mentioned something about Ted Bundy. I gotta really read more into that. I know they did the TV series on Netflix and whatnot. But I gotta just read into it. I don't think I'm gonna watch it. I just need to read and understand what's going on from his perspective. But yeah, I can't understand what goes goes into these people's heads to be like, oh, this girl looks one way. Oh, cool. Let me decapitate her, stab her, get her. Like, what are these people thinking at the end of the day? But I don't know. And then to be as sick as to say, yeah, no, I did that. Nah, not really though. It was actually somebody else, but I just want to take credit for it. Like, why? At the end of the day. But that is my topics for today. I'm gonna try to be consistent. The time frame, I'm still working it out. I'm gonna try to see if I can shoot for 8 p.m. Should I do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? I don't know. Because these stories, they're like bizarre cases, and it's interesting reading them, but it also, at the same time, is sad. Just knowing this happens in the world and how frequent, because like the last ones I read, they're all older cases, but the newer ones I'm reading, like, yeah, some of these are like very recent, and I'm over here thinking, jeez, especially having kids, a wife, it could happen to seem like it could happen to anybody. So, but yeah, hopefully you learn something today. Stay safe out there.